ETH close to 7-day in the level and it starts to react, forming higher highs on lower time frames. And Tether dominance is working on a lower high in extreme premium of the range. What all of this means in today's episode, let's go. Hello and welcome guys, I hope you had a great week. Let's start with ETH here right away, because we closed the 7-day within the 7-day breaker block, which was the first sign that the level might work. If you look at the weekly candle and the big wick at the lows and this aggressive spike in volume, it's a prime example for absorption. And if you did not buy down here, in my view, you make a mistake. Obviously, all level can fail, there is no guarantee, but the market started to show its hand, and so it was time to scale into longs, risk a defined amount, and be prepared for further upside. That said, I'm also still prepared for further downside because I still got this BTC short running from here, which is nice because either way, it doesn't really matter what happens next. I'm somewhat prepared. If we start breaking out from here and showing signs that we want to go up to the 0.5 around 100k, I can simply decide to TP a little more from the short to free up some money, which I can reallocate should we have a big bullish swing. Then I can use that to open another short without paying all those gains back. I don't have to sell the perfect bottom. I don't have to sell the perfect high. It's nice if you do, but in reality, there is no need for perfection to make money in this market. I'd rather stay prepared for both outcomes. And you see, I've already TP'd 50% of this position, and my whole portfolio is still up 20% with this position alone. And I used some of those gains I made already by reallocating into longs. And as said, should we keep on forming higher highs and higher lows here on lower time frames, I'm gonna TP a bit more of the short because there's no need to hold this whole thing. By the way, we talked about this little short scalp I took from this area. I TP'd it fully down here at the 0.5 because this is just a scalp, and I used those gains again to buy more ETH. And yeah, technically we closed below the level, so I'm not interested in a long in BTC here. Also looking at ETH BTC, I think that ETH is somewhat the better choice right now, maybe even other altcoins, but you know my opinion to this, guys. If you own one altcoin, you own them all. There is very rarely that one altcoin outperforms a lot, and for this reason I chose ADA down here. It's developing kind of good, the RR is good, the potential performance is pretty good. And the only other thing I would like to have in my altcoin bag right now is XRP. I did not catch this move because I went to bed and I said, okay, good, you have already exposure. I did not leave a limit order. It would have been perfect, but hey, it is what it is. It's not about perfection. And should we get the retest on XRP here, all the way down to this level, I'm gonna build some more exposure, but for now it doesn't really look like that. If it comes, I'm prepared. If not, then not. I'm still pretty happy with the size I built on ETH and ADA as well. And as said, in my view, if you own one altcoin, you own them all. And there's pretty much no single reason why you should focus on 7 different altcoins at once, because you just split up your focus. And what I see people doing, they spread themselves too thin because they want to own them all because some coin is more special than the other. In reality, they all move together in synchronicity. So my approach is rather focusing on a handful, on ones that offer good RR. The structure is looking good, you have clear validations, and then you pick maybe 2 or 3 and trade them with all your attention instead of trying to catch 7 of them. Then you're frustrated because you did not catch this one, and then you get emotional or whatever, and it's just chaos. So structure, clarity, and focus is super important. So make sure you don't spread yourself too thin. And yeah, we talked about this last week as well here. Tether dominance still at the range high. We started breaking down this trend line here. We started retesting it from the high, from below. And so let's see if this is our rollover here. As said, the signs are here. Looking at this weekly candle, massive absorption here at the range high. And as said, there is no need for any perfection, or there is no need to predict where price will reverse. If you go down to the 5-minute, you might find some block in this wick up here, but it's not really that important. um, you want to expose yourself around here and you refine on the single charts, like here in ETH, it's perfect, more or less. We had the 7-day close exactly within the level. Now we get the bounce. We have super prime absorption here. So there were many signs to pull the trigger, especially on the pullback. And this is also something I talked about. How many people have been bearish here, waiting. I do not buy any longs. I do not buy. Then it bounces 20%. And on the chart, it's just retracing the last bit of this move, right? But at 20% bounce, people look at this number and they say, oh, it's 20% up. I missed the bottom. That's not how accumulation works. Accumulation takes time. We usually get some kind of retest to the 0.5 or to the 618 in this case. And this is your opportunity to add size or to buy if you did not, because we had the weekly close within the level, the 7-day close within the level. So this was a very good time to add exposure. The market basically showed this is its hand, and this is your time when you go big. As said, V-shape reversals are super rare. It could have happened, so it's wise to look for some exposure on the way down, but I would always recommend to only go big and to size up to the size you really want after the market has showed his hand. So in my view, that's always the better approach, because on the way down, you always risk to catch the falling knife. I mean, sometimes you catch it, but on other occasions you just cut yourself. And if you already risk everything you wanted to risk on the way down and it goes further down than you expect, and it might even just go 5% further down, you get fearful, you sell it for a loss, you already risk 5%, or you get stopped for these 5%, do you risk another 5%? And this is where the problems arise, because people then risk too much because they still know they should buy here and they already paid 5% on the way down, and then they maybe risk another 5, and if it doesn't work, then you pay 10%, and this obviously is then a big loss if you lose 10% of your overall portfolio. So the best approach is wait for the market to show its hand, wait until accumulation starts and until you have some clarity. And in this case, beautiful pullback. Now we start making higher highs here on lower time frame. So this could be it, but still, there's no guarantee. Obviously, we manage the risk. We don't over risk. We play with brain. Let's talk about the stock market real quick. You know, I'm short from the Pico top basically here. And we started breaking down. We have this break of structure internally here. It's showing some weakness, and usually after such a range, we see some more downside than just like 7%, but we will see. The market thesis is still that this is about to top. Similar on the SPX, still got those two shorts running. Let's see what happens. We still could go higher from here, and then the invalidation is super clear. I like those setups so much because the invalidation is so clear and so obvious that if I take my stop loss, then it's most likely that we go higher, especially on this position. On the smaller one, I went a little more aggressive with my stop loss for the simple reason that I wanted to build some more size, and this is my safe position, and overall I've risked 2% on both positions. And if this bigger one here gets stopped, it's pretty likely that we are going to go higher from here. But that's not the base case, that's why I'm short. People always share some stock charts with me, and I'm a little more defensive on those right now because those majors, they're not lining up for it. Also, quick look at the Dow Jones. I do not trade it personally, but I've seen the news, I've seen the memes, I've seen everything about the DJI is above 50K, and this is a very big psychological level. This might be it for the DJI, because we broke this round number, people get super bullish on it. So again, another major telling us to be a little more cautious right now. And the funny thing is that while the stock market is screaming for a bigger correction, and most stocks already did a huge correction, I mean, or started to do bigger corrections. I mean, Google down 10%, Meta down from here, from the top even more. So the stock market, and especially software and the tech sector, is already under pressure, and majors have not even corrected significantly. So it's definitely a sign to be a little more cautious. So I still take longs, but my risk is a little more adjusted. My targets are a little more adjusted. And if people come and show me, for example, here, Rigetti, it's nice here in the demand. This big area here is probably a good idea for a buy. But first of all, I want to see a confirmation here. What I don't like is that the volume is not really increasing at this low, but Rigetti don't seem to do that a lot. So always know and understand the asset you're trading. And I still like the stock. I still like the idea. And I mean, it still could perform insanely well. But at the same time, I'm waiting for a little more confirmation. We started breaking the first trend line. We have another bigger one here. So I have time. I don't need to buy this right now and FOMO into it, especially because it's super volatile. Should we go down to this range low here, it's minus 50%. So know what you trade, be careful. Also Moderna, super nice macro high time frame idea. From this entry, it pumped 100%. Now it corrected after the absorption, after I TP'd 85%, it corrected now overall around 30%. And these corrections, if you want to build exposure, I marked this area out because it's basically the retest of this range high here. It's not ideal, but it's definitely better than FOMOing into the top. And you see we touched the 0.5 of the swing, so we were in discount. We retested this accumulation range from the highs. So if you want to build some exposure, it should be in this area, not on the way up, not here. It's always on the way down. But again, the macro thesis and stock market majors do not line up that great right now. And I still got some exposure here. And as always, I don't need to have a position. There are a million opportunities every single week. I don't need to chase a play just because the idea is great and I have to have some exposure because it could go up higher. That's not how we trade. So be careful with those as well. So, and why am I long crypto if my macro thesis is lower? Why am I long crypto? How can this like come together and play together? The funny thing is, usually if the stock market is bearish, it's not a good time to buy crypto. But ever since like a year or two, I was thinking about the idea that when it would be like such a huge trap that, for example, the stock market corrects aggressively and at the same time, crypto does incredibly well. Why would this be a big trap? Simply because all the investors will probably think, oh fuck, it's over, we are going down, something bad is about to happen and all that. And in the meanwhile, crypto is doing well, and it's the most brainless play, more or less, or the most irrational play that plays out. And how many people do you think would then have their eyes on crypto? Because this little shit asset class, which everybody probably laughs about and thinks it's a total scam, suddenly outperforms the US stock market for maybe a month or two or whatever. How big this trap would be, how many eyes will look at this and say, whoa, crypto is doing so well, I have to have some exposure there. So could be a super big trap. It would be a first, and statistically speaking, it's not wise to bet on such things. But if I look at crypto alone, crypto is screaming to buy. Crypto is screaming to build some long exposure. But as said, the stock market is not really lining up that great right now. So still a little bit cautious. And as said, it would be the first of its kind. Stock market corrects aggressively. Crypto performs very well. Let's see. Let's see. Nothing is impossible in this market. Just because it doesn't sound rational does not mean it's not possible. Especially in crypto, have a look. It's always the most irrational thing that works out in the end. Why? Because the whole market is just hot air. It's completely manipulated. It has no real intrinsic value, at least let's say 99% of it. So the supply and everything is super controlled. It's super monopolized. And so they can do whatever they want. And obviously, in a market where a lot of people, a lot of rational thinkers come and think they can outlogic the market, it's a super big edge to control the market in a way that it's super irrational. Look at this whole cycle. Look at Farcoin, all the utility coins, everything that promises so big things and that the great technology behind everything. It got outperformed by Farcoin, you know, and this is not by coincidence. It's all designed, and the most irrational thing becomes very likely in crypto. I've shared another interesting play with the Discord. I like to buy IBKR down here once we go for the 0.5 here, and this could be a high time frame 3 drive. So I take my chances, trade the high time frame macro thesis, and took a short here. So far, it worked kind of well. Then now we got a bounce back yesterday, but I'm still kind of confident in this position. This could be a beautiful higher time frame 3 drive. Looks somewhat like a distribution to me. And if this works, beautiful idea. Also talking about the crypto stocks real quick. Obviously, if you have crypto exposure already, just understand that you add crypto risk to your ideas. For me, it looks good based on volume, based on everything, based on demand, premium discount, all that. I think I did not update those so far. And the risk to reward from down here is good. Now what I want to see is, first of all, crypto doing well, keep on doing high highs and high lows and lower timeframes, plus breaking out of this trend here. The problem with crypto related stuff is that these trend lines, often once they break so spectacular and so fast that you don't really get your entry. But that's okay. I have already some crypto exposure. Once again, I don't need to have this in the end. It's about risk to reward, and FOMOing into it just because I need to have it is, yeah, just a stupid idea. And same on Circle. As said, a friend of mine told me that the ICO price was around $35. And so probably this price gets somewhat protected, respected. Now we started breaking this trend line here, but as said, crypto trend lines oftentimes don't work as well. So because if I pull it, for example, from here, we also broke it. We also just went lower from there. So be careful with those trend lines. They act as nice complements, but they're not everything. The thing is, why I use them is simply because if this trend line is not broken, there is not a single reason for me to enter, because the momentum is down, the trend is down, everything is down. Once we start breaking this, it's at least something. It's not a guarantee, but if I use it as confluence for all the other things I look at and add this on top, then I can say, okay, good. At least we have broken the momentum, broken the trend, so I can pull the trigger knowing that I need all those other confluences and that it's still no guarantee. That's important. And as said, those crypto trend lines, they often do not work super well. So be aware of that. Once we start confirming these higher highs, higher lows here, and crypto keeps on doing well from those lows, I might want to build some exposure here. But in the end, this is nothing special. It's like every other play. If I, for example, enter here, it's about risk to reward, and it offers me 5R, and I only take this trade if it has a real advantage. I don't take this trade because I have to have this position. I take it if there is an advantage, if there is edge for me, and there's only edge if I get my confirmation from crypto. And then it's basically like buying another crypto position around super extreme discount. And maybe this is my first target here, TP, here, TP, and maybe go even way higher. Who knows? If USDC, for example, becomes the CBDC everybody's so fearful about, or Circle is providing the technology, it doesn't need to be USDC, of course, then this stock could be doing extremely well. And so the idea is at least a 6-hour trade to this, and if stars align, this might turn out to be a RR monster. So I see a big advantage, I see big edge in trying to build a position there. I want to see my confirmations first, and then I'm thinking about building a position there. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Make sure you zoom out from time to time. Don't lose sight of the higher time frame, bigger picture. Don't get lost in lower time frame noise. If you want to be a swing trader, these are the time frames you want to look at. And if you look at lower time frame, it's only for confirmation for these plays. And if you're able to do it, and if it's not messing with your higher time frame bias, taking scalp ideas obviously makes sense if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, if you're a higher time frame trader, stay on those time frames. Most of the time there is not real edge. If you don't have the experience, it just leads to confusion. It just leads to overreactions. And so stay safe, guys, stay focused. Have a great weekend. Bye.